Our next speaker is someone who's very well known to all of us. Steve Kunken has been an attorney, or had been an attorney at the Legal Aid Society for many years. He's a great trial lawyer. He graduated from Boston College Law School. He's now currently a sitting village justice. And I'm pleased to introduce Kenny's older brother and best friend, Steve Kunken.
I have to say, over all of the years that I've known Ken, I have never thought of him as a Rolling Stones kind of guy. But thank you, Dan, for all of your hard work, and thank all of you for being here. All of you, along, as Merrill said, with Ken's family, friends, colleagues, neighbors, assisted in him getting to the place where he is today, retired author. Last year, I marked 50 years of being admitted to the New York State Bar Association. So I figured that my probationary period was over and it was time for me to retire. So now that we're both retired, we could sit around rehashing all of our old cases. Growing up, and especially when he went to play football in high school and college at Cornell, he was never the strongest athlete, he was never the biggest athlete, he was never the fastest athlete, but he was always the toughest. And there was no obstacle that was too great for him to overcome. And I think that defines his life. One of Ken's favorite stories is one day when he's in the rotunda at the Nassau County Courthouse, and one of the young legal aid attorneys comes up to him and says, "Mr. Kunken, I just want to share with you, I was just downstairs in the bullpen talking to one of my clients, and I overheard the inmates talking among themselves, and they were comparing notes about who their judge was and who their DA was. And one of them said, you better hope you don't get the guy in the wheelchair." So, a little while later, I have to go to court on one of my cases. And I go into chambers, and there are 3 ADAs there, and I said, all right, so which person has my client, whoever the name is? Ken raises his hand. I said, great, I got the guy in the wheelchair. As defense attorneys, we all know, whether it was Ann Donnelly, Kathleen Rice, Dennis Dillon, whenever the assistant DA in the part gave us an offer, it was always tough. And in order for us to try and do better, we had to arrange to go to see a bureau chief or a deputy bureau chief. And I could say throughout my time there, and speaking to all my colleagues, I think almost unanimously, the one bureau chief or deputy bureau chief that they all wanted to see was Ken. Not because he was a pushover, because he echoed the company line most of the time, sorry, we're not going to change the plea offer. But the reason why all of the defense attorneys wanted to go to Ken is because of when Ken turned them down, he always had a smile on his face. When Ken first started practicing, his confidence level was not very high. His knowledge of the law was just beginning. He was just starting with trial experience. And he would occasionally, and maybe sometimes more than occasionally, whenever he had any difficult case, he would give me a call and ask me questions about trial procedure, foundations for the introduction of evidence, case law, and things like that. And I was happy to share my information with him. Well, as the years went by, and I'm sure all of you know, and it's been mentioned before, Ken's experience grew. He grew as a trial attorney, and he studied, and he reviewed case law, and he reviewed recent decisions, and he went to court to supervise the people under him and watch them, and he became an expert. He became a go-to guy in the office. And in later years, whenever there was a question about new cases or precedent or whether a particular witness was necessary to be called, it was I who was calling Ken to say, Ken, what do you think about this, and what's the current case law? I want to emphasize for the record that we never discussed about a case in Nassau County Court, right? So I just want to say, congratulations. Harmon and Sparrow.